Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the official Level 2 podcast, episode 28. My name's Keegan. I'm one half of Level 2 Gamers, hanging out with the other half, Tom. How you doing today, Tom?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Before we jump into what we normally do, which is the news, then we talk about games, then we have a topic, I want to give a shout out to somebody special.
Sure.
Do you know what happened? Did I tell you what happened in the world of YouTube recently?
No.
So, do you know Bumblesworth?
Yeah.
So
the guy that did the animation for Jacksepticeye.
So Bumblesworth, about a week or 2 weeks ago, depending on when you're watching this, did a animation to Jacksepticeye playing Outlast. Jacksepticeye, as of yesterday when we're recording this, put it on his channel.
Awesome.
And Bumblesworth's channel has just kind of went poof, as understandably so.
Yeah.
But shout out to him. That animation is really cool. I used to play Rocket League with a guy every Saturday night. There's a group of us that would come together and play, and it was a lot of fun. So
that's awesome, man.
Shout out to him. It's a really well done animation. If I remember, I'll try and put the link down below. But
how long did it take him to make it?
I mean, he'd been going on and off for a while. He stopped making YouTube videos for about 6 months, so he had life going on.
Right.
So he had to take care of some things there.
Good old life.
But I don't know, honestly. I don't know how long it took him to, like, work time it took him. It took him about 5 to 6 months to get it done.
Sounds like it was worth it anyway.
Yeah,
so
it was
good.
Really cool looking. So
yeah, all praise due to Bumblesworth.
Yeah, he I think it's about roughly close to 1 million at this point views on Jack's channel. On his channel, it's like 30,000-40,000.
Yeah.
So, but he's getting a nice bump obviously from it. So,
yeah.
Shout out to you, Bumblesworth.
Congrats, buddy.
Congrats. That's kind of cool. But anyways, let's go in and jump into what we normally do. And you know how last week I said we have stuff that happens, like the news was released before we recorded?
Yeah.
Then a bombshell dropped.
Yeah.
Far Cry 5 was officially announced, and then there's teaser trailers and all this kind of stuff. We've got the trailers on our channel if you want to check them out. The teasers and the other one should be going up here shortly because I had access to it. I just forgot to download it the other night because
you're tired.
Because I just forgot. My back's been messed up the last couple of days, so I've been a little out of it. But Far Cry 5, I'm going to read what Ubisoft sent us as they call it the fact sheet.
The official Ubisoft fact sheet.
The official Ubisoft fact sheet. Far Cry 5 comes to America in the latest installment of the award-winning franchise. Welcome to Hope County, Montana. This idyllic place is home to a community of freedom-loving people and a fanatical doomsday cult known as the Eden's Gate. That sounds like something I know. Led by the charismatic prophet Joseph Seed and his
Seed,
S-E-E-D.
That's a bad name for a prophet.
His devoted siblings, the Heralds, Eden's Gate has quietly infiltrated every aspect of daily life in this once quiet town. When your arrival incites the cult to violently seize control of the region, you must uprise and spark fires of the resistance to liberate the besieged community. Freely explore Hope County's rivers, lands, and skies with the largest customizable weapon and vehicle roster ever in a Far Cry game.
Sweet.
You're the hero of the story in a thrilling world that hits back with every punch, and where the places you discover and the locals you ally will shape your story in ways you'll never see coming.
Sounds like a traditional Far Cry just set in Montana, which is, it's what everyone wants, really.
Key features. Spark the fires of resistance against a fanatic cult. Stranded in hostile territory, find strength and community around you to lead the resistance against a cult taking over Hope County, Montana. A huge cast of memorable characters, including Mary May, local saloon owner, Nick Rye, family man, and a plane enthusiast. That makes it sound like you're going to fly an airplane at some point.
Yeah.
Pastor Jerome Jeffries, a preacher whose flock has been led astray. Recruit guns for hire and leverage the special skills of up to 3 at a time to turn the tables of the project at the Eden's Gate. I can't read.
I think you might need some classes.
I do. I need. I need to update my prescription.
Yeah. Oh, I meant classes in reading, not glasses on the face. But yeah.
Carve your own path.
Your own path.
The freedom to go in any direction. You decide when and where and how. From the moment you enter Hope County, you have the freedom to tackle the world in any order you choose.
Sweet.
For the first time in Far Cry, you are the hero of the story. Choose your own avatar and customize your character. Create insane and unique Far Cry experiences with the map editor to enjoy with or against your friends.
Did it say for the first time in Far Cry, you're the hero?
Yes.
Interesting. Because they've kind of hinted at that in past Far Cry's, that like sometimes you just start doing shit because it's a video game and you think that's what you should do, and a lot of people are like, you're actually the asshole in this game, and you kind of, so that's interesting that that's a good point to put out.
A world that evolves. Play your way against Joseph Seed. That's still a weird name. Its fanatical followers, a dynamic open world that adapts and reacts to the choices you make. The resistance meter evolves in the world in meaningful ways as you progress. Every action you take moves your story forward. Disrupt cults, doomsday preparations to draw the heralds into an epic showdown in the open world. Your choices affect the world as new gameplay opportunities arise from the chaos. Dynamic toys. This is probably the best part.
Dynamic toys?
Toys.
Hello.
Tear up the countryside in iconic American vehicles you can make your own, like a monster truck, hopefully. From muscle cars to big rigs, from ATVs to tractors. Commandeer an airplane to engage in cult forces in an epic aerial dogfight or bombing run. Discover the natural riches of Montana's wilderness as you hunt, fish, and explore every inch. And then, obviously, this is published by Ubisoft. Release date is February 27th, 2018 on PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One, Scorpio, and PC. Go to far-cry.ubi.com to get more information on it.
Nice. First of all, congratulations on making it through all that.
Woo. So thoughts.
Secondly, thoughts. So it sounds to me like it's in a similar vein to 3 and 4. I think maybe they're making it more obvious that you are actually a hero this time, as opposed to making it like slightly ambiguous like they did before. I like the fact it's supposed to be very large, because Far Cry games, whilst they are very large, sometimes did, feel like you were just doing the same thing over and over again. So hopefully they've spread that out a little bit more. Montana's an interesting choice.
Yeah. What do you think about being in the States? We talked about this a little bit last week.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Like, I have no problem with it being in the States. I actually like the antagonist. The antagonist in this. The idea of it being like a religious cult is interesting to me. And even though, like, in a lot of the other games, they were kind of culty criminals or whatever, or cult of personality in the case of Far Cry 4. It's interesting they've sort of chosen this path. I think there's a lot of jokes that could be had here. There's a lot of probably going to be moonshine missions and things like that. But the wildlife in Montana, now correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not bears. American. I figured there was
mountain lions.
Yeah, mountain lions. So there should still be some big beasties out in Montana. It's not going to be quite as cool in terms of the
just because they're not exotic.
Animals.
Yeah,
there's no sharks, I doubt, but there might be like some snapping.
Could be a lake shark.
Stuff.
Shark Lake. Maybe they'll put sharks with lasers on their heads.
Maybe.
But I think it's interesting because I gotta say two things about this. One, I've never played a Far Cry game other than I played like 30 minutes of Far Cry 4, and I watched you play Primal when we did the bite, but that's all I know of Far Cry. But I'm very happy they're putting this in America for two reasons.
Because you're American, goddammit?
No.
Is that number one?
No.
Okay.
One, because it's cool to explore other places, but I also feel a lot of the times franchises are scared to put things in America unless it's happy-friendly time. Like, the example I'll use is Watch Dogs. You don't have to kill in Watch Dogs. That's based in America. There's very few games that are based in America where you have the option is go be a dick. Or go fight a dick or something like it's very. I
can think of one big.
They have very PC games,
big brand that allows you to kind of be a dick to everyone in America.
GTA.
Yeah. So there's something for people that
really
just want to destroy people. But
that's true.
I think it's interesting they've chosen the cult aspect because I think that is a touchy subject. We talk a little bit about some of the documentaries and things that we watch, and you were talking about Ruby Ridge and things like that. It brings back that kind of.
It's interesting because a lot of the outcry initially was obviously Trump being president right now has caused a little bit of chaos, depending on both sides. And a lot of people are like, well, why would Ubisoft Ubisoft's clearly making a game that goes against Trump supporters. This game's probably been in development for 3 years. They had no idea Trump was going to be president when they started.
That's bullshit. It's not going to be anti-Trump supporters. It's literally going to be like a
sounds like it's just anti-government. It's going to be like I'm assuming that's why they did Montana, because it's when you think of Montana, what do you think of?
Anti-government.
I think of nothing like open spaces, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever really paid attention to Montana.
That's
I don't
why.
mean that to sound bad if you're watching in Montana. I just I don't know I don't know anything about Vermont either.
Yeah. Well, Vermont's got lots of wineries and stuff.
It sounds like mountain world.
Yes,
and
it's to get away from the city, all that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking that's why they chose that. So
Far
Cry 5, I'm excited. The big thing that got me excited was you can play with your friends. So that means online multiplayer, which means I am good to go. So I will probably get this game because you have ally with your friend for hire and take down and 2-player co-op experience that extends across the full campaign.
Nice. That's because the other ones were just like solitary missions.
Yeah.
You have to go to a certain 2-player area. But the part that I like about that, did I read you say something about they still have the create a map stuff in there?
Yes.
See, that's been a staple of Far Cry for a long time, and I love that they're one of the only companies that is consistently still doing it.
Create insane and unique Far Cry experiences with map editor to enjoy. What's the map like? What can you do in the map
You're
editor?
making multiplayer maps.
Yeah.
Cool. So, because there is like a versus multiplayer as well usually, but this you're basically making a multiplayer map however you see fit, putting whatever you want wherever you want, and it's kind of interesting because, like I said, there's not really that many games that let you do that anymore.
No.
Like it used to be a ton of games. Doom did it, I think.
A lot of the racing games let you do it sometimes.
Yeah, the smaller racing games do, not the big ones.
So, to stay on Far Cry, Change.org has a petition out to cancel Far Cry 5.
Oh, lovely.
749 have signed it so far.
749?
700.
How many do they have to get? Like 1 million?
It says to reach 1,000 here. I don't know what it actually is.
And then what?
I want to read this because I don't know if this is a troll or if this guy's serious. But if he's serious, I'm kind of
Go for it.
intrigued. Enough is enough, Ubisoft. We sat through your multicultural lectures and your preachy games aimed at degenerates and misgenerates. Never heard of never heard that word.
It's not a real word.
Yeah. We've tolerated it in the name of gameplay, design, and innovation, but no more. Far Cry 5 is an insult to your fan base, the Americans, who make up the majority of your customers, and it's time you woke up to that fact. Change this or cancel
Yeah,
it.
you silly French company.
Us gamers have had to endure a lot of crap over the last few years. The targeted harassment by mainstream press through the Gamergate, the terrible launch and outright lies of highly anticipated video games, the outright censorship of art through localization policies, the continued rejection of romantic partners when they find out our hobby, the appropriation of our culture by so-called gamers on Twitter, no more.
Wait. The continued rejection of romantic partners when they... Is he basically saying I can't get a girlfriend because I play video games?
Baby.
Jesus Christ.
Let me finish.
Fuck off.
It's time to draw the line in the sand. We, the American gamers that make up the majority of the user fan base, demand that you cancel this game or alter it to be less offensive to your main player base. In these times, you must understand that there might be some violent repercussions if you intend to follow through with your pointless criticism.
That's a threat.
That that I can understand because I could see this doing two things. I could see it inciting, making people angry on the side that are like religious cult type experience. You know what I'm saying? Like the far right.
You want to
like,
be careful about upsetting the religious cults.
No, but you see what I'm saying? Like people could rally around this, but the other side is the left side.
No one cares.
But the left side would be like, oh, this is awesome because I'm more on that where it's like, hey, I like that you're doing this.
I would play a game where you got to kill tree-hugging hippies or whatever. Like, I'm not, and I'm a tree-hugging hippie. Like, I don't know. I think it's bullshit. I think that you can't say that, and this is, we're fucking going on a tangent now, strap in. You can't say that with all the millions of games that have come before it where you're killing, like, brown people and black people and Middle Eastern terrorists. Oh, Call of Duty's fine that you can murder entire villages.
But as soon as it's American.
It's American. Like that level, no Russian in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, where you have to slaughter the Americans in the airport. That's slightly disturbing because that's just gun violence against innocent people. Yeah. Nothing to do with where the location is. It may feel worse to you because you live in this country, but there's so many, like German gamers. How many fucking Nazi games have they had to go through?
Yep.
Korean gamers, they're always the enemy in every game.
Which is funny because do you know the Nazi flag is banned in Germany?
Yeah. I mean,
so
it's good.
It's not. It's not allowed. So it'd be interesting to see kind of how they handle that with localization.
Yeah. So it's just, and he's talking about like I can't get a girlfriend because I play video games. Fuck your life.
Wait, he's got. Hold on. He's got some suggestions. He's got some suggestions on how to change the game.
Oh, go on.
Change the villains. It's not so hard, really. Just change the villains to something more realistic. Islam is on the rise in America, as is the violence of inner-city gangs. Are you scared to do so? In the words of Voltaire?
Voltaire isn't a person. Voltaire is who you're thinking of. Congrats.
To learn who rules you, simply find out who's not being criticized. Alter the villains. Even if you insist on making the villains American Christians, consider mixing the races a bit to not target white people exclusively. There are plenty of nationalists of every stripe and every race and creed. So throw in some blacks and Mexicans. There are no protectionist nationalist movement would all be one race. Why stop being politically correct here? Alter the plot. It's obvious that you continue to insist on using these characters. However, with a few artistic tweaks, you can save the concept entirely. Here, have the villains simply be misguided patriots forced into making their own nation versus the will of the impressive over government, construed of all people they turn their wrath against their immediate surroundings. Their brutal physical and sexual violence towards their oppressors will be explained as a reaction to harsh government policies, taxation, to show that both sides are wrong. Change the settings, but only for certain markets. Look, I get it that anti-Americanism plays in France, and I'm not telling you to give up on potential profits due to the complaints. Wouldn't want to be. Wow, this guy can't write. Wouldn't want to be thought as one of those hypocrite feminists, right? But for America, right now, anti-Americanism is out. You got to play your market. Change the setting to Canada for America. This way, you don't run away potential players due to offensiveness. Just try helping you make money.
As butthurt as you can possibly get.
Follow one or more of these will be saved from PC hell multicultural development. We Americans have so few games to call our own, and we're tired of losing multicultural
It's not an
bullshit.
American game. It's a fucking French game. Ubisoft is a French company, you absolute prick.
My favorite is the comments. Yeah, changing the setting in Canada. That'll work. Where's
all those violent Canadian religious extremists?
Pose laws in effect, but I don't think this petition is real. Chuckle-worthy parody, though. Voltaire. Ha ha ha. I have no idea if this petition is real or not, but it's certainly getting me more hyped for the game.
It can't be real.
There's no way.
It's too fucking stupid to be real. I mean, here's the thing, though. Like, because of the nature of some of this stuff that is real, I literally can't tell.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if this is serious or not. And that's a sad state of affairs. If I can't tell if your ridiculous comments are
I'll let you read this one.
Joke. What does it say?
That's somebody's comment.
I'm signing because I'm a fucking dumb cunt that is oversensitive that white Christian values are being violated. How dare people do things that I don't like? I want Ubisoft to hear me because I think I have a right to bitch and whinge at my heart's content like it actually fucking means anything.
So,
from Australia.
Let's be honest. So you want to go here for the comments. Yeah. But no, so all seriousness, this is a petition that is out there. I don't think it'll make it to where it needs to go. But this is kind of what's going to happen with this game is it's going to be very polarizing because of what it is.
Here's the thing, though. You got to pit, like, even if this is not satire, if this is a real poll, how many people signed it?
Right now, 700. Let me refresh and see if it's gone up. 749. 773.
Jesus Christ.
So
like, less than 1,000 people,
Tom
right? Now, let's talk about... Do not sign that thing.
Share it on Facebook.
Think about that. There's under 1,000 people right now. And how many people are going to buy Far Cry 5?
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. Seriously. Like, if this is real, go fuck yourself.
Doesn't tell me when it started.
The hypocrisy is so intense on that. All right, okay, I'm done. I'm too angry. Move on to something else.
I just wanted to have one more word on this. One of the things I watched Kind of Funny do a discussion on Far Cry 5 because Greg Miller and a couple of them got to go to a Ubisoft event where they'd learned a little bit more than we have based on what was released. And one of the things they said that Ubisoft was very clear at this event, which is kind of unclear in the stuff we've seen so far, is it is not against white religious people, it's against anti-government people. Basically what's happening is these people want to do their own thing. They don't, and I kind of agree with them. If you don't agree with your government to a certain extent, you're allowed to go do your own thing. But if it interferes with other things, that's when it becomes an issue. But the concept is it's kind of a group of people. Think of like I'm trying to think of, any cult that goes out, but the government themselves, they don't harm anybody really. Like, they're doing their own thing. They do what they believe. That's what this game's about. It's not against religious white people. We're not attacking all Christians. As somebody who is a Christian, like, I'm not offended by this game at all.
Good.
So it's more of...
I would slap you if you were, because you would be silly.
Oh. But it's more of, like, Greg Miller... I wish I had the clip for it, but Greg Miller basically said they were very clear that this is not meant to look like that. It's
and it doesn't look like that. If you look at it so far in the stuff that they've released, when they're talking, especially with the last, like, the proper trailer that they released, you can see it's obvious that they're talking about, like, mountain men here that have militias and think that the world is, like, it literally says doomsday preppers. That's not your average white Christian.
Yes.
You're not old doomsday preppers. I mean, it's...
You don't know me.
Well, you might be, but you know, and again, there's nothing wrong with prepping for Doomsday if you want to. But I think that the point of this game, and again, it hasn't even been fucking released yet, so we really don't know anything about the subplot or that kind of stuff. I'm assuming they're bad people in general. They're not just your average Doomsday preppers going down to Costco and stacking up, and you're just like, oh fuck these guys, and murdering them all.
Yes,
they're gonna be assholes. Like they're gonna be like a ritual killing cult, or you know, a multiple teenage wife cult or something shitty. And I'm assuming at some point they're going to fuck with you, and that's why you're going to. One of the
things
back.
I think is interesting that Greg brought up in that same discussion was, and I kind of understand it, is what you were saying earlier. Is it bad that I feel weird for killing an American, but I can go play Call of Duty and not care because it's Nameless Joe?
If you do that, yes, it is bad.
So it's just like one of those things where it's like, I will probably buy this game. I think at first I'll be like, this is weird, but after a while you're like, this is just a video game.
I just like, I don't get, like, you could be in GTA and kill people of like, and there's a religious cult in GTA that does the same thing, as well as policemen and, you know, random pedestrians, and you can fuck with them all day long because it's GTA. But as soon as it's kind of sort of focused on something that's that small and that kind of niche, now it's a problem. But, you know, I'll go next piece of news. I'm mad. Sorry.
You're like me with the VR, Upload VR.
Yeah, fuck those guys too.
So next piece of news. Last week we talked about Square Enix selling developer IO, which is the Hitman developer. It still looks like they're selling the rights of Hitman as well. So they're not selling it to IO, whoever's going to buy IO.
It's open market.
3 weeks on from the Square Enix shock announcement that it would sell Hitman developer IO Interactive, there's still a little word on the future of the much-loved stealth series. However, details from Square Enix's financial documents have confirmed that it was previously suspected the publisher is ready to sell off the Hitman's rights alongside IO so that the studio continue its work on the franchise. So they might be selling it with IO, but they haven't decided whether they're going to sell it with IO.
Sony, buy the rights. Give it to Naughty Dog.
So
let him go.
So there's a discussion thread I read on this topic, and it was the discussion was, should Microsoft or Sony buy this franchise?
Yeah, they should. And
obviously, I was in a very PlayStation dominant forum, so people were like, yeah, PlayStation, buy it. And then one dude was like, Microsoft should get it because this would give Microsoft a leg up that they need.
Yeah, I like I'm
from business perspective.
When it comes to like my general life, and this is not like my professional, I say professional, my semi-professional video game career.
Yeah.
My professional opinion is that obviously I would like Sony to have it because I've always played those games on Sony platforms, and that's not to say they were only released on Sony platforms, but that's just how I remember them.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a very similar game in nature to like Metal Gear and Splinter Cell, and Xbox got Splinter Cell as their exclusive rights. They also got the last Tomb Raider as an exclusive game, well, at least for a
timed
year. Timed exclusive. And, you know, and then you have Metal Gear, which is being released on all platforms now. So I feel like this should be Sony's Splinter Cell. Like, I mean, can you think of a game that's more similar than fucking Splinter Cell to Hitman? So I think it would be good for Sony, and I think they have plenty of really good studios they could give it to that would come up with some impressive stuff.
I really like that Square Enix is selling it because they're not doing the Konami thing where they're getting rid of Kojima and then keeping the rights to Metal Gear.
Yeah, it's nice that they're selling it. Shitty they're not selling it to IO, because if you think
about
it,
IO might be involved. They're saying
because if Kojima, like, if they sold the Metal Gear rights, but Kojima couldn't buy them, how fucking shitty would that be?
It says here the publisher is ready to sell off the rights. The Hitman rights alongside IO that the studio can continue work on the franchise. So I don't know if it's a package deal or not.
Oh, that would be okay. I'd be all right with that.
But the question is how much money, and then it goes on to talk about how many layoffs that IO's made to make them more attractive to buy, because obviously you'd have crossover if somebody else bought them, all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. And then
it is a shame to see a franchise this big get tossed to the wind a little bit, but
it happens.
Yeah,
I'm not too concerned. I never played Hitman. Kind of like a lot of games.
You'd probably like it, actually.
I tried. That's a lie. I tried they had a demo of the new one, and I just was like,
it takes a bit of getting used to.
It was too slow for me.
Oh, it's slow.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I like it slow though. So.
I know I have ADD and I cannot focus for that long on it.
Yeah, I think the multiple ways you can go about performing your kills and stuff, and the costumes and things like that make it exciting.
I think that's cool, but it's just a slow game.
That's fair.
Last piece of news, and this is kind of confirmed, kind of not. PlayStation Turkey confirmed it.
Sketchy.
Yeah, PlayStation Turkey confirmed it, so I'm assuming it's going to be the same in the U.S., But
No, aren't they sometimes different?
they are. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm prefacing it, that it may not be this. But PlayStation Turkey tweeted out that Killing Floor 2 and Life is Strange will be your PS Plus games for the month of June, along with a few others when they're officially announced.
If that is true.
That's a
really good week.
That's a good
month. Yeah.
So Life is Strange, we both played episode 1. I want to go back and finish that game because I've heard
heard
so many things about it.
Yeah, I've heard good things by the end of the 5th episode. I heard that a lot of stuff comes together, whereas I really didn't massively enjoy the first one.
Which I did.
But Killing Floor 2 excites me a lot more because that actually was a game I was looking to pick up at launch. It's a really interesting FPS. Hyper gory, hyper crazy. So it's definitely it's almost like a perfect PS Plus type game where it's something that you kind of want to drop money on, but you also kind of don't. And then here you go. It's free. Awesome.
What makes me believe this is real is basically they took the tweet down after they posted it. So again, it's Turkey. May not be in the US, may not be in the UK. I don't know.
There is a high likelihood that Killing Floor 2 and Life is Strange will be your PS.
How much would it suck
titles,
if it wasn't that?
They might not. I would be gutted. I would be.
It's like, by the way, Turkey gets this, but everybody else gets fucking jaw-dropping 32 shooter.
It would probably be like Europe in general, like EU would get it, and then and maybe like that whole region, and then we would get something else. But I really hope, if nothing, because I have Life is Strange, so I really hope, if nothing else, they keep Killing Floor in there, because I think that game deserves a boost, and this is a really good way to get a boost to the player base on it.
Oh yeah, I read an article the other day of how it's a tricky situation of giving your game for free, obviously on PSN. Sony, they can't give details obviously, but Sony does give developers some money for doing it because obviously losing revenue. So a game like Rocket League, one of the guys from Rocket League, Jeremy Dunham, came on to Kind of Funny and was talking about how giving away the game for free was the greatest and worst thing they did for their company, because it was the greatest because their fan base is large. Like, they have a lot of fans. They said it's the worst thing because you just see the amount of money Sony gave them did not amount to the amount of keys they sold. But the question would have been, would they have sold as many keys if it wasn't free? And then that's why they also, it was really interesting because he came out and said too that the way they do DLC is it's $3 for like car packs, and you can buy crates and all that kind of stuff, get exclusive toppers. So if you're into which that's the way you do DLC. They said the average person that did not buy Rocket League spends more money on DLC than the person that does buy Rocket League,
because they feel bad about it. That's what you do.
I mean, I bought. I mean, what's the game? $20. I probably have bought that much in cars alone. So
they deserve the money. They put out a really good product,
and and they're supporting it. That's the other thing.
And they put it out for free. And and these updates, like with the basketball and things like that, they've all been free too.
They're also so every map is free. It's only vehicles, and the vehicles don't really do much. So good on them. So that's why it's exciting to kind of see like the PSN Plus spike that people are going to get. Like, I'm sure Life is Strange.
Life is Strange was a small company that put that together. Don't Not, I think it was, and. So even though a lot of people, they did get a lot of hype around in the indie world, and a lot of people did play it, I think that
this will open up to a new audience.
This will definitely give them more.
Let's be honest. How many times do you just go download the free game because it's free? You may not touch it, but you have it there in case you want to go back and play it.
Every time.
I've done that. I even get the PS Vita, and I don't even own a Vita
ones too. Yeah, just because I have a Vita, and even at some point I might want to play them.
I don't own a Vita. I
kind of consider getting the PS3 ones too, because I know I'm going to pick another one up at some point, but I just haven't done it.
Yeah,
I guess because I don't know how long they're going to support the network for. So
yeah, that's the only part with something like that.
Yeah.
So, but that's your news for the week. Far Cry 5. We had a little bit of
controversy.
Yeah, controversy when it comes to that. We had your PSN Plus games
from Turkey.
From Gobble Gobble, Turkey motherfucker.
Still from Montana.
And
then what was the other one? There was another thing that we said.
I don't remember. It's in my notes.
There was the other thing that we talked about.
Yeah, I can't remember. That's bad. That's what happens when you record.
That's our memory in general.
Speaking of memory, let's talk about Game Spotlight. This is where we go in and tell you the games we are playing and we want you to play. By the way, this is Level 2 Podcast. You're watching and or listening at itunes.com/I don't know if there's a link there. I think if you actually go to podcast.level2.com, it'll take you there. But we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. You can catch us on level2gamers.com watching us. Hi, everybody. So the Game Spotlight. What have you been playing? What do you want to put a little light on, Tom?
So what I would like to shine a light on is a game that I have a
Stay close to the mic.
love-hate relationship with, and that is Friday the 13th, the game, which has been in development for a really long time. And
Which just came out recently.
It did. It came out this week, well, last Friday. And it got kickstarted, really successful Kickstarter. The guys that made the Kickstarter were really like upfront with everything that we're working, and some of the better parts of it were they actually roped in a lot of the people from the original movies, including the original makeup artist Tom Savini, who most of you horror fans will know, to do a lot of the work on it, and like the composers and things like that. So here's the thing about Friday the 13th. Couple things I don't like about it before I get into what I do like about it, right? And they can watch the gameplay while we're doing this. So the thing I don't like about it, and I kind of feel bad. Yeah, I know it's weird, right? Is that the servers got smashed. They got smashed to tiny pieces as soon as it went live. I was live first thing in the morning on Friday, like literally like bang on like 10 o'clock when it got released. I was so excited, and I played like 4 games, and then they released a patch that was supposedly going to fix the server, and it broke the server. So after that, I couldn't get in.
So they're a small developer, like you said, though. So it's kind of like,
which is why I'm not mad.
You probably don't remember the Rocket League launch because I don't think you were here. I think you were in California when it launched.
Somewhere sunny.
But we were. The Rocket League launch had the same issues, where it's like this team, I don't think expected it. They expected, you expect your game to do well, you hope your game does well, but you don't expect it to do what it did. I think
they were going off Kickstarter numbers, and they didn't realize that, you know, as soon as it became readily available to the rest of the public.
YouTube is like I mean, one of the reasons you wanted us to get it is because it's perfect for streaming.
Yeah, it's an amazing streaming game, but also there's that nostalgia factor that ties into everything. And the fact is, they really tried to, well, not for you, because you don't watch it, but for a lot of folks, Gen Xers will all love Jason, like all love Freddy, all love those horror franchises. So it's a big deal. But the other thing about the game that I don't particularly like that much is the jankiness of it, is what I'm going to say, because there's like, even though there's some moments of pure joy and there's some really like good animation and some kills are really good, there's some jankiness to it, like in terms of like sometimes the highlights on things you're supposed to do and press as far as buttons go just aren't there. And if you do the motion that you know you're supposed to do, it'll still do the thing, but you don't see the prompt for it. And also I've at least once or twice now been caught in a situation where the game glitched, and every time I tried to do an action button, none of them worked. So I literally managed to lock myself inside a house during a game, and I couldn't get out because I couldn't click on the window, and all the doors were like locked and barricaded, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna sit here and wait for Jason to kill me then.
Well, that's like again, I've yet to play it yet, but I watched Kind of Funny play some gameplay yesterday, and they Greg Miller did one where he was talking about where he was in a forest and went to go do something, and then he started flying, and then every time he pushed a button, he just kept getting higher and higher. And he's like, I didn't die.
I mean, the thing is, they're kind of funny. Like they're funny glitches. Like I escaped this morning. I was playing, and some poor sucker put fuel in the boat, and I had a propeller, and they weren't around, so I just started that fucker and left them. Sorry, anonymous person. But as soon as I started peeling out, you can see my hair like went. And just started like really freaking out, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like I look like Medusa.
As long as it's not game breaking, I think it's fine.
It's all fun. It's like Goat Simulator.
It's when it causes like to the point where you can't play the game. That's what I think it's.
The one where I was locked myself in the house was game breaking, but or at least that particular round breaking.
He doesn't say. At least as long as it's not. My thought on something like that, again, because it's a small team. Not that is an excuse, but you want to give them time to hopefully they
have so much more to add, and that's the thing about it. The potential is the good part of the game. So for those people that do like nostalgia and do like Friday the 13th, let me explain this to you.
How's this game work?
So you did you ever play a video game and then create a multiplayer game out of it that wasn't the initial multiplayer game? So what I mean is, like, you say in Mario Kart, you decide to do battle mode, but instead of going versus, you play tag on the course, and you have to try and tag each other.
No.
You've never broken I
play by the rules.
Had a weird rule like slappers only for.
We did drinking and driving in college.
Yeah,
for Mario Kart.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, not in real life.
Okay, thank you.
But in college, no. So the way it works in Mario Kart is you have to finish your beer before the race is over.
Oh, so you did a drinking game with Mario.
Yeah.
So, all right.
But you can't. But you can't drink and drive. So you either got to chug it at the beginning, or you got to pull over to. or you have to pull over to the side of the road because you can't be on the road. Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's kind of like when you take because they used to do this with Call of Duty, where they just have like you would agree before the match to play a game of like Jason, they would call it, and one player would have a knife, and he would be allowed knives only. No one else could shoot him, but they could run away, and it would just be
I feel like that wouldn't work in today's day and age. Too many people.
Maybe not, but back in the day, it was a fun mode.
I guess we did that in Overwatch. Overwatch, like one of the things we did one time is I was in a match where we all just sat down in the middle of the arena and just started talking to each other.
Yeah,
like we literally just did the emotes, sat down there, and we're like, hi.
So this is what I love about this game, because this game is like one of those modes that you would create in a different game just because of how fun it sounds, except it has all the bells and whistles that you could require. So the game plays like this. You have a possible 8-player match. 7 of those people are going to be counselors, and one of them is going to be Jason.
And each counselor has different
stats. Yeah, exactly. So you have to unlock them. You get a couple at the beginning, but you have to unlock the rest of them by playing the game and by leveling up. There's XP involved.
Do you think it's hard? From your experience, is it hard to get leveled up to get a new count? Like, is it to the point where you're like, I have to play the game for like a month and a half to get a new counselor? Or is it like...
it's fair. I mean, I will say like some of the the highest level things you can get that I've seen so far were items of clothing, and it said you have to be a level 101 to get the last pair of shoes, I think was on there. But they begin unlocking characters.
But the characters you don't have to worry about.
No, they're like within the first 10 to 20.
Okay, that's because I hate when games are like, this is how we're gonna extend it. You can't have the last character.
Yeah, no, it gets customization based, I think, after a certain amount, but they do it very fairly. It's not. I never felt cheated with the XP that I was earning, and so you get this XP. I forget what they call the version of currency, but then you can use it for buying. Perks for your character. So you could have one where they're like stealthier than normal, but that has a bad side to it. It's all like pro and con weight perks. So it's like you could get this awesome thing, but you're going to lose this. And same goes in some instances for Jason too. But Jason, you can get all the different versions of Jason as well. So like his look, I don't know if you haven't seen the movies, but his look changes pretty dramatically.
The only one I know is the traditional
hockey mask one, right? Yeah. But they have like one where the hockey mask is like burnt into his face. They have one where he just has a sack over his head with an eye, exposed. So they have all these different kind of versions of Jason, and so you can get those too. So it means you can. And they have their own stats and merits and things like that. So you're unlocking and customizing as you go. But honestly, it doesn't matter because the game is so fucking fun. That's what it boils down to for me. The gameplay is shitty. The graphics is shitty. Sorry, not the gameplay. Sorry, the graphics were really shitty. The jankiness is shitty.
The tech,
but the game is fun as shit because it's literally everything you wanted in this type of a game. Like, you start off as either Counselor or Jason. So if you're a Counselor, your goal is thus. You have like 5 ways to escape. You gotta get what you need to do that escape. So if it's a car, then someone needs to find a battery, someone needs to find some fuel, someone needs to find the car keys. You'll get in the car, you escape. But of course, someone could just grab the car keys after you've done all the hard work, jump in and drive off.
And then leave.
And same goes for boats and things like that. You can call the police, and then you have to hold out for 5 minutes until they show up, which means you have to make it to the main road, which means Jason's expecting you to go to the main road. And you have also, the other one is you can radio in a character who's big in the franchise lore, which is Tommy Jarvis. And I believe it's Charlie Sheen, if I remember correctly. No, not Charlie Sheen. Corey Feldman, one of the Coreys, Corey Haim, one of the Coreys. And anyway, you get Jarvis, and he has like basically maxed out stats, a shotgun that puts Jason down for a good while, and he sort of comes in just to help everyone else escape. So if you die first, you could still come back as Tommy Jarvis and help the rest of the team. So it gives you more reason to hang around instead of just like quitting out of the game as soon as you get killed. But it's about using the microphone, talking to players. Like, if Jason is close and he has a microphone too, he will taunt you. Like, there's this one guy I was watching on a stream, and he was just like, "Now why y'all running away from me?" Like, while he was chasing him. It was so fucking funny. But yeah, it's just great fun.
One of the things you didn't touch on is it's proximity chat. So Jason can hear you if you're close. Your teammates can hear you if you're close. Exactly. Unless you have a walkie, then you can communicate with your teammates that way. Yeah. But that's really cool when it comes to that kind of thing, because it's, again, I watched Kinda Funny play it. There was a moment where he actually started off as Jason, which was really the best way to start it.
And yeah, playing as Jason is a whole other ballgame.
He was hanging out outside a door with 2 people inside, and the one dude didn't know that he could hear him.
So he talking shit on him or something.
Yeah, he's like, he's outside. Let's go out the window. Go out the window. We're going out the window. And Greg goes, I'm just gonna put a trap right here.
Yeah, it's so good that they don't know. And then, they'll, like I said, they taunt you and things. But also, it's kind of realistic in a way because, if you're trying to escape a serial killer in the woods, you're not going to be able to hear someone miles away unless you have a walkie. But otherwise, it's going to be proximity-based. So if they have a microphone, they turn out to be a nice dude, you might form some good alliances. And then you work together to try and get out of the situation.
There's a real good one that when I was watching him, you could see you could hear the fear in somebody's voice when Jason shows up.
Oh yeah,
because they're like,
some people don't know how to deal with it. I was one guy who was literally screaming over the microphone when Jason got him. It was so funny because I was nowhere near in pain territory, but I was close enough that I could still hear. And this guy's going, oh my god, he's like, he's screaming, and then suddenly it just cuts dead because he's been killed. And then when you get killed, they have a group chat in the kill screen too, so you can talk about the players that are still playing and talk, no, run here or do that or whatever. But you have that aspect of it, and then of course if you're lucky enough, you get to be Jason. I haven't got to be Jason yet, and I've played 12 games, so I'm a little upset. I've actually changed my preference because you can choose preference as to who you want to be. So now I've chosen his preference to Jason just so I get to try him. But he has his own set of stats and abilities. He can morph.
He can teleport.
He can teleport. He can also do this kind of weird ghost move thing where he just goes towards you. And of course, you buy multiple kills because everyone knows that's the whole part of why people love Friday the 13th is the kills. And some of them are really gory and kind of awesome.
He one of the things I found interesting is he can't go through windows.
No,
he can only go through doors.
Only go through doors, and if they're barricaded, it takes a good few chops of the axe, which gives most people time to escape. But he can't smash windows, so that if you try to escape through a window, you hurt yourself in the process, and therefore you're easier to catch. So there's all this kind of balance and pros and cons, and you're just running around trying to find things. Like if you pick up a pocket knife, if he grabs you, you instantly stab him in the neck and get away. If you pick up first aid, you can heal yourself.
I saw you have a flare gun.
Flare guns, yeah, they have firecrackers too that confuse him, and he's just like, oh, what's going on? So there's all these kind of little things, and here's the thing: the base game is going to get boring. It is because of, it's still to me now, it's still super fun, and I've played quite a few matches, but the base game will get boring eventually once you have all the characters unlocked and all the Jasons unlocked. So they need to do more. They need to go back to it, and they're going to add a single player.
They're adding single player too,
which is fine, but the single player is not really what we need. We need more different variation in either locale or game types, because it can't always just be Jason versus all the counselors. There has to be some where there's specific teams of counselors maybe that have to try and do something.
Get to a certain point.
Yeah, or lure Jason into a trap, or because right now there's only one way to kill Jason, and it's really hard to pull off. You have to have one of the female counselors has to pick up his mother's sweater from his mother's cabin, and Tommy Jarvis has to have something I can't remember, and basically those two working in unison together against Jason can actually kill Jason, and it's game over and the counselors win. But to pull that off is really, really difficult, because you have to find someone that wants to try it, and
knows how to do it, B wants to try it.
And it's not easy to go and get her. So her cabin is really far away from all the other cabins. I my very first playthrough, I discovered that first because I was stuck in the woods somewhere, and it's really creepy in there because her head's there and everything. But it's just really fun, and I think that I bought it for you because I was like, you're gonna play this with me. It's not that scary. It seems scary. It's not that scary. It's more fun than anything. And I thought if Dave and Brian and some other people could
which I know David's gonna pick it up.
Epic stream of it. So
it'd be cool if we got 8 of us on
I would love to get 8 people to buy it. Right now, the downside to that is the price is high. It's too high for this game. I'll be honest. It should be a $20 game as it stands right now. It might be worth $40 when it has a single player and maybe some other maps and stuff. But right now there's 3 maps. And that's not a lot of maps. But the gameplay, the core element of the gameplay is there. They could tweak it and get rid of the jankiness. They could add more maps, add more modes, add the single player, and you're going to be stuck with a solid $60 game. So that's been my game spotlight, because I've really enjoyed it enough for me to proselytize about it, and I recognize the flaws, and I don't care, and that's, I think, says something extra for the game.
It means the core of the game, like you said, is
good enough.
It's there, and it's one of those things. A lot of people with me, the Division, the Division was a janky ass game. It had a lot of broken things, but I always overlooked it because I enjoyed that game so much, and it just struck a chord with me. And I think the same thing with you with this game, where it's this like in the Division, I couldn't finish a mission. Well, that sucks. But I had so much fun doing all this other shit that I don't remember the one bad
I'm
time.
just going to cancel, restart, and try again. You know, like you actually want to do that as opposed to being like, fuck this game.
Versus if, I think that's, like I said earlier, I think if it was game breaking like constantly, like one round where you get stuck in a house, fine. Again, small team, just released, like there's going to be bugs. I think if they don't put effort, and it sounds like they already are, don't put an effort into fixing it, that's when I start having the issue.
Yeah, and so far they like literally the first message that came up on the title screen now after the patch is, hey, we know. We know shit's going weird. We know the servers are fucky. We're working on that 24/7 right
and
now.
I've started following them on Twitter and kind of saw some of the stuff they're saying.
Yeah.
So
They've been very transparent about it.
which
They
is good.
all are,
Same thing Rocket League did.
but they're all super surprised it's doing so well. That's the thing. And there's people out there that play like one round of it or whatever, or saw some footage of it and instantly thought, oh, this is bullshit. It looks janky. It looks terrible. You have to play it. You really do. And the $40 is a big ask to get into it. But if you love those types of kind of quirky multiplayer modes, you love Friday the 13th, you have to get it, man. It's not Evolve. It's not Evolve. It's better than Evolve by a long shot. And
It's not Evolve.
With other randos even, you can still have a great time. I only mute people when they have shitty microphones or there's like stuff in the
or
background.
somebody yelling racist
Yeah, and I hate
tangents.
doing it because, like, I was talking to this one dude the first time I played it, and we ended up, you know, I never add people on PSN, and I added this guy because we had so much fun playing.
That's what I do with werewolves.
The game, you know. So I was, you know, really happy about that I got to meet like a new friend on PSN.
Crazy people. There's gamers out there that aren't all complete assholes.
Yeah, and they really want to play it to play it. So
Yes.
they want to strategize. They want to, you know, how do we get here? Oh my God, he's coming. You should hide in here. And it's kind of like it's so.
You know what so my first game ever, you know what I'm gonna do?
What's that?
Leroy Jenkins, and just run at him.
You could try it.
Wouldn't
You
end
can
well.
put him down. Like there's enough weapons in there that if you get him good, you can knock his ass down. But he's always going to get back up again.
He's like tub thumping. I get knocked down.
He does it
but
the
I get
perfect
up again.
Jason way too. It's like the Undertaker in the WWE where he like lies down and then just goes like.
And I'm up.
Hit the mic on my hat. But yeah, it's really a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. And
We will
if
be
you want,
streaming it.
And here, I'm going to do this now because I rarely do this. Madrizzle1, MADRIZZLE number 1. That's me. If you have Friday the 13th, let's play because we might even have you on the channel playing it with us because we might need some people to fill in the gap. So if you're serious about the game and you enjoy it and you're not a dick, and we'll find out pretty quickly if you are, then add me and
or
we'll
add level
play
2 gamers.
or level 2 gamers. That'll
one.
be the one that the stream is probably going to be based around. So yeah, both of us, we have it. You know, we're going to play it. So add us.
Cool.
What you got?
Do you know what I've been playing? Do you know which game I'm spotlighting? I don't think you know what I'm spotlighting.
I think I do.
I recorded the footage yesterday.
You said you were recording footage for it, so I assume this is what I think it is, but go ahead.
So, you, about a week or two ago, bought Little Nightmares.
I did.
And let me borrow it and play it because...
I'm a nice guy.
Well, yeah. No, but yes. But it's weird because you're like, I don't know why you would like this game because it's all about nightmares. But it reminds me so much of Inside. Like, because Inside had that weird, like, what's going on edge to it that I absolutely loved. I don't know what it was. So, fun fact, I actually played the game a little bit first just to get used to controls and all that. And then the footage you guys are going to see behind me is me starting a new game and starting over. And I actually found another passageway that I didn't see the first time I played. And I die a lot, by the way, so I'm sorry. I fall off a couple. The hardest thing in that game is maneuvering in Z space.
Z space?
So
you mean depth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Z space. That's what it's called.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Thousands wouldn't.
Yeah. But no, so Little Nightmares essentially what happens is you have like this vision or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call it. And you wake up and then you don't know what's going on. There's no color other than your little rain suit is yellow and you walk through and
looks a bit like Coraline, doesn't she?
Yeah. The art style is really cool. It's like stop motion kind of. It's the animation is really, really well done. That's the first thing I noticed about the game is the animation. Like there's one section where you climb a bedsheet rope and the way you climb, it sucks because it's so slow, but it's so beautiful.
Like Unravel?
Better than that.
Really?
Like it's
that impressed the shit out of me.
It reminded me a little bit of like at times I felt like I was watching a movie. Like I was controlling the movie, but at times I felt like I was watching like a smaller animated movie. But there's a couple things that are going on that I want to talk about and the potential spoilers here. So if y'all don't want to be spoiled, but when you start up, you start running and these little. I want to call them like dwarves because I don't know what they are because they have pointy hats and they just have legs that run around. You chase they show up and they chase them or you run to them, they run away. And then at one point, the new section that I found when I was actually recording the gameplay, and I'm glad I went back and did this, is I found a hidden secret passageway where I found one of those guys hidden in the room, and I didn't know what to do with it. Like, he didn't run away from me. I was like, what do I do now? And I picked him up and I kissed him. Like, I went to go pick him up and it just did a kiss animation, and then he was just like following me, and I was like, there's something here, obviously, and I don't know what it is.
The story pulled you in.
Yes, there's something there. And then there's another moment that happens when you're running to where the bed sheet is, and you got to go up, and what's really cool with the camera, and it sucks at the same time, is you can use the right stick to kind of change perspective of where you're at. It's really hard to kind of gauge, again, in Z-space where you are. But there's one moment where you have this scene where the camera pulls out, so you know something's about to happen, and there's a shadow of a dude, just big giant dude walking across the top that looks like a skull carrying something with him. And you just like look at him, and you're like, what is that? Like, what's going on? I feel like I'm in this factory, and I don't know what that thing is. And it's just like, okay, let me go to the next step. There are moments where I'm scared. Like, there's...
it is a horror game at heart. So
yes.
I would expect you to be a little nervous.
There's a scene where you go to open a fridge, and there's like bloody handprints on it, but that's how you know to open the fridge. And it's interesting because when you go to open the fridge, it's like again, it reminds me of a lot of Inside with the animations, where you open the fridge and you can then climb up it and go to your thing. But it's just like the struggle to get that open. You get the sense of this is a small child. And
you're not an overpowered superhero.
Yeah, my theory is that you are walking in a child's dreams or nightmares. That's my guess. I'm not 100% sure on that. But
the game is called Little Nightmares, so it's a good, solid guess.
Yeah, that's my thought. Is it's based on that. I want to finish it and see where it goes. But the enemies the only enemies I've run into so far are, I'm going to call them worms because that's what they look like. They're just things that kind of fall from the ceiling and try to eat you. And the death animations, again, animations is the number one thing this thing does. Do you remember in Inside when the dogs would eat you and you're just like, that was terrifying?
Yeah.
Same concept. So this thing, what happens is this worm is like a snake and it wraps around you and just squeezes you. Oh, and you just go, and the noise that it makes is just like, oh, I don't like that. But it sounds like a body being crushed. And there's one scene or one section of the game where you have to run through like a maze of them, and if you make a wrong step, they're going to chase you, and you're like, uh-oh.
It's like Pac-Man.
Yes. But in 3D. So that's, again, the hardest thing. One thing they need to fix is how to maneuver in Z-space. They've got to make it better to where like the camera works better with it, because there's a moment where you walk across a bridge, and I thought I was on the bridge, but apparently I was 2 steps behind the bridge, and I went shoo, and then you got to restart back at a checkpoint. Yeah. Like you'll see in the gameplay behind us that there was a few times that I just go shoo, and it wasn't my fault. It was just I thought I was there and I wasn't. But it's a clever game. The atmosphere, it's very, very dark. It's very, very. The lighting is probably the greatest thing in the game, other than animation. They have where you have a little torch you can turn on, and there's. At the very beginning of the game, you're walking through this pipe, and there's a light that comes from above with water, puts your candle out, you turn it back on, and you can see as you're walking through the light going through the grating down below you, and I'm just like, it is a gorgeous, gorgeous game, and the puzzle aspects are really, really good so far. I'm probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours in, not that far, but there's a couple of puzzles where it's like, I know I need to do something in here, what do I do, where do I do it? So there's... Not too easy then. The first few are, to kind of get you the understanding, and I've talked about this before many times, how I like when games build upon themselves. So there's one at the beginning you learn that you can open up hatches and you can crawl through hatches. Well, you open up a hatch and then something else happens, and then you got to learn what to do that something else, and then you open the hatch, something else happens, and something else happens, and they're really good at building upon that, but not repeating the puzzles a lot, if that makes sense. So like they'll teach you that. Then, oh, by the way, here's another puzzle. Here's a time-based puzzle you got to do where you got to run from point A to point B before things happen. And so far I've had 2 of those, and they've both felt very different with how they function. Interesting. One was like an electric fence I guess technically a fence. It was a door that had electric wires hanging down it that I had to run through and get to the next one before the thing flipped back on to electrocute me. The second one was I pulled a crank, door went up, I had to run through the door before door slammed back down. And it's the same thing. You're timed get from point A to point B, but the amount of like adrenaline flowing when that's going on, or like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And a detriment to it of being so pretty is the one part with the electric fences, there's like a swing set in the background that I'm like, first time I played, I stopped and looked, and I was like, ooh, because it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I died because I didn't make it through the second fence.
I'm just gonna stop here and admire this bench real quick.
Well, it just because it's one of those things of like what because it's also one of those things of like what does this have anything to do with the story? Because at that point I had seen the big dude. I'm now on a playground. What does that mean? Like you try to look at the environmental clues to see what's going on, and I've yet to get any closer to where other than it's some child having nightmares. I'm sure there's something going on with these little doors running around. I don't know what else to call them, but it's a really, really good game when it comes to the looks. Controls are extremely tight. It's really interesting with some of the buttons they chose. R2 is to grab, which once you get used to it makes sense, because usually you automatically grab a ledge and you're fine, but you have to hold R2 to grab. To climb, you have to hold R2. Sprint is square. That's the one that throws me off the most because I tried L3 every time and it's square.
That is weird.
So, but
it's like Mario.
Yeah, so you got to. So one of the sections you got to sprint and you got to jump. So you go from square to X, and it's not that hard, but it's just your brain is so used to doing L3 and jumping, or another button to jump, triangle if you're in
interesting.
Other things. So
I will add to this in saying that the version that I picked up, and mostly the only reason I picked this game up, because here's the thing: I saw it and it looked great, and I wanted to play it. The
you're not gonna play for a little
version
while.
Is
so you're not going to play for a little while.
That's
I got to finish
I
it.
got Friday. So the digital version is $20 just for the game itself, but if you go and you're lucky enough and you get to a GameStop or something like that, or wherever you buy your games from physically, they have a collector's edition that's only $35.
It includes the soundtrack. The music in the game, or lack of music, I should say, is really, really good.
Yeah,
really, really. And when there is music, you notice the music. So there's a scene in the game where you're walking through this area. You go from indoors to outdoors, and the wind starts picking up, and you're well aware that there's wind going on around you. And I was playing with headphones on, so it makes it even better. So I recommend playing this with headset versus
the extra step.
Speaker. Yeah, because it puts you in that much more, and you'll hear the things in the background. Like there is one because I played the first time without my headset on. Then when I went to back and record, I put the headset on, and there's a scene where a light flickers. I didn't hear it the first time, but the second time I heard it, and I looked up, and there was something. I'm not going to say what, but something happened up there. So it's things like that that'll catch your attention, where it's like, oh, versus at first I thought it was just the light flickering to make you scared. Like
alongside the sound, though, with that collector's edition having the soundtrack, they also have a figurine, which is a pretty big deal because a lot of people love their figurines and their collector's editions, and usually those collector's editions are worth like $100 or whatever. There's also some stickers in there. There's just some really cool bits and pieces, and it's like a big, nice thick box that has the game, the soundtrack, the figurine, the stickers. I think there's a poster in there or something, and $35. I was really impressed with that because I thought it's nice that they have that $20 digital copy because the game's worth that. I'm assuming from what you're saying, but to be able to get that kind of super special edition and have a little figurine and everything for an extra $15, I thought was a really good deal, which is partially the reason why I picked it up because I don't buy collector's editions, but if they're $35, fuck yeah, I'll buy one.
Versus $120.
That's like just around half the price of a full length $60 game for the collector's edition. So and indie games at this point are good enough that that's that's the quality that you're getting now.
Yeah. So I'd say if you're a fan of Inside, if you're a fan of Limbo, if you're a fan of darker puzzle platformers, Unravel to a certain extent, but it's a different vibe than Unravel because Unravel's not that Unravel's happy based on the story, but it's got more color going on.
Right.
So it reminds me a lot of Inside and Limbo, which obviously are done by the same people. I think Dead Space was the name. Not Dead Space. I can't remember the name of the developer for them, but I highly recommend it. I can't wait to go back and actually finish it. There's a lot that I'm sure I've missed that I want to. It's one of the games that I kind of want to go back to and like play again to see if I missed anything. Which, like I said, when I started to record, I started over and I'd missed like 3 things that I was like, oh, I didn't even know this existed.
So it's a little more depth.
And I've now started doing way more exploration, which is why I've died quite a bit more. But you're also saying, hey, is there something back here? Because they hid this over here. Why is there something hidden here? And I'm trying to find the balance of the developers of like, here's the secret versus we're not going to put it here. It's a fine line trying to figure that one out. But $20, recommend it to anybody who loves puzzle platformers.
Little Nightmares.
It probably, as of right now, is on my list for Game of the Year.
Awesome.
As Inside was last year.
I'm looking forward to trying it out for sure. So it's high price. Did you have a question? Because if you don't have a question, I have a question. I don't know if you have a question or not.
I don't have a question.
You didn't have a question. See, while we were doing this whole thing and trying to be smooth and transition wise, I was like, okay, we don't have a question, so I thought of a good one though. But so this is, and tell me if you like this, because if you have a better one, then it's good. I think talking about the difference between Friday the 13th and Little Nightmares. We're talking about Friday the 13th being a $40 game that is kind of janky, fun, but everything else about it is kind of shitty. And you have Little Nightmares, which is a $20 game with a $35 collector's edition and is polished as all hell. How much leeway do you give an indie developer as far as value for money with their games?
I think it depends on what they're trying to do.
Okay.
So my thought is, if it's a single player experience, don't have to deal with online servers, don't have to deal with connections, all that kind of stuff. I hold you to a higher standard than if you're playing with other players, because as soon as you bring the online element in, I think it becomes a lot tougher for multiple reasons, especially on smaller teams. But that being said, I don't hold indie developers nearly to the same standard I hold AAA, but if they've got to have, indie developers have to have the gameplay. Graphics, all that other stuff, technical stuff, I don't care, as long as they fix it, I'm cool with that. Like, fucking Limelight was one of my favorite games there for a while, and it's a line on a screen, like I said last week. That's all it was. But their gameplay was so well done that I was like, cool, I'm easily gonna do this.
Cheap game too.
Yeah. So for me, it's one of those things, like, if it's online, I give it a little bit more leeway as well, just because there's more variables that I'm aware of. But they also, if that is the case, kind of like they did, if they came out and said, hey, we know it's screwed up, we got to fix it, versus if they did the Ubisoft, or I can't think of somebody else.
No Man's Sky, Hello
Games. Just kind of said, oops, sorry. If they do that, then I have a bigger issue with it.
Right.
And I think indie developers have to be more transparent, because two reasons. One, they obviously don't have the marketing to get their name out there. And two, they're smaller, so it'll take more time for them to do certain things. Like our friends at Happy Badger, one of the things I've told them right now is, and this is no fault of their own, but it's hard to find an online game because not very many people play that game.
For Smugglecraft?
Yeah. So I love the single-player game, but I've yet to successfully make an online matchmaking game because nobody's on, because it's such a small audience. So you got to keep that in mind when you're doing an indie game and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like the online is kind of the big difference for me in these two specific games. If it was something like, you also have to keep in mind who's backing it. So like Unraveled, EA backed that. It's got to be a little bit nicer than somebody's doing by themselves.
There's a bit behind that.
So you got to keep that in mind with things like No Man's Sky.
Sony putting stuff out by themselves.
If they're true independent.
Yeah, and if they're adding in online elements, you're willing to give them a little bit more of a chance as long as they are communicative?
Yes.
Is that what I'm getting?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I kind of sit around the same thing, like, because I was thinking more about this price for Friday, and I thought, for the gameplay that you get for it, to me, $40 is too much. And I understand, even with the Kickstarter, like, that they have to recoup some money to put into further development for the title, and also to pay a lot of the people I'm sure that they had working on the title, Tom Savini, etc. But I think
Adam Sessler.
Yeah, Adam Sessler apparently. But I think that $40 was still ambitious. $30 I would have been happier with, and I know they wouldn't have been happier with it. But I think the difficulty that I have right now is that I'm relying purely on randos to pick it up, because like I said, I had to even buy a copy for you to play, because you were just like, I don't want to spend $40 on a game I don't know if I'm going to like, which is totally fine, because I would be the same way.
You are the same way with Ghost Recon.
Right, but I just wanted you to play so bad. I'm just like, I need friends for this, and I'm not usually a social gamer.
You saw Chad's thing,
Chad
right?
has it.
Chad has it.
We're gonna add him. But it's one of those things where I'm worried that price point is gonna put people off, creating that online community that it needs to survive. Because even with the dodgy server stuff right now, it's still a bitch to find a game. Like, even with it kind of being calmer and being after the release weekend.
There's no microtransactions in it, correct? Anywhere that you've seen? Okay.
Everything is to be bought within game.
Because my thought is they could do two things, and they won't do it right now because it just launched and it's doing amazing. But make it a PSN game that you build your base up, or, as we always joke, in a month to 3 months, there's going to be a price drop.
Yeah.
So.
Any sale or any like a PS Plus would be amazing for this game, but I don't think they're going to give it over that quickly.
Especially based on what
I would be happy just with a lot of DLC. I would pay for DLC. If you can give me a couple maps, like 2 maps for $5, let's do it. I would totally do it to extend that gameplay experience, as long as they're interesting and as long as there's kind of a different.
This kind of runs into it's really interesting what you're saying now. Is runs in the Star Wars Battlefront aspect, where I spent $60 on a game that I felt like wasn't worth that, but as soon as I spent the extra $60 to get the rest of the content, I then felt like it was worth $60.
Right.
But I spent $120 to get that $60 worth of stuff,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's good and bad. That's good because they're giving you more stuff, and it's a game you kind of enjoy. Well, right now you love it, but the longevity we don't know.
That's the thing I'm worried about. Like I said, right now everything is fun all the time, but I'm sure.
But we
that
also
at some
had
point,
a
it's
good
gonna
job
get
with No
stale.
Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Like we enjoyed No Man's Sky for the first few weeks, and then
more than I played No Man's
Yeah.
Sky so far, I would say, because No Man's Sky I pretty much played I played it a little bit by myself, and then I just stopped playing.
See, I played it for about 3 weeks, and I was
Yeah.
like,
there just wasn't a lot to do. And with this, like, at least there's a lot to do, but the problem is, when's it going to get repetitive? Because, even with the different counselors, the different skill sets, the different Jasons, the different
doing
kills,
the
and all
same
that
thing.
kind of stuff, at some point you're going to cap out, and you're going to be like, okay, I got everything. So now what? And hopefully by then they have something in the pipeline. We know the single player is going to be interesting, but let's be honest, people didn't buy this game for single player. I'm sure that some people will dig a single player version of this game, but it's so janky, I can't see him pulling it off well.
I think
I'd rather they just focused on the multiplayer.
I think it's interesting that usually you think of a single player game getting multiplayer added on. This is a multiplayer game getting single player
really
added
weird.
on.
Yeah,
It's the
really,
inverse of
really
what you'd
weird
think.
way to do it. And I'm assuming it's just because the single player wasn't ready yet and the multiplayer was, and they needed to
That's
get
like
it
if
out to
Overwatch
get
came out and
funds.
Overwatch has said, "Hey, we're doing a campaign now."
Yeah.
That would be weird.
It would be weird.
But I would love
I would
it because
consider it
Blizzard.
at that point, honestly, because that's the thing for me that's missing from Overwatch is actually getting to learn the characters and the story and everything, because it's all kind of led to, like, you have to read this comic or that book or this internet page, and
Or
I
you just
don't care.
and
Yeah.
just play the characters.
Yeah, I just don't like that. Like, for me to be that interested in it, I wanna get to know what I'm doing. And again though, with this type of a game of Friday, it doesn't matter really what the characters, like, their backstories are irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you're playing a vanilla wafer of a human being against force of nature.
I showed you PlayerUnknown Battleground, right? Did I show you that footage yet?
I don't think so.
So PlayerUnknown Battleground is a current game in early access on PC, and it's confirmed to come to Xbox One and PC or PS4 at some point. They haven't given a date because it's still early on. But that game, basically what it is there's 100 people on a server. You're in an airplane. You jump out of an airplane onto an island, and you have to scrounge materials, so ammos, armor,
You
that
did
kind of
tell me
stuff.
about this.
And then there's a circle that gets smaller and smaller. Then they have a red circle that if you're inside of it, you're basically going to die. And then as that circle gets smaller, there's a countdown timer where a blue circle comes in, and if you're outside that blue circle, when it gets past you, you're slowly going to lose health. All this kind of stuff. That is a
Sounds
janky
like Battle Royale or something. You ever seen that? Or like Hunger Games or something?
It's a lot of people are comparing it to Hunger Games, but that's a very janky game still. But it's kind of like this, where the gameplay mechanics are so well done that people are enjoying it. I don't know what the price point is. I want to say it's probably $40 as well, but the bones are there. One of the things that those devs are doing, though, that I don't know if Friday 13th is doing, is they said a lot of the updates that are going to come with new content will be free.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. Granted, that's early access, Friday 13th. I think if they released Friday 13th as early access, it wouldn't be as big of a deal.
I kind of feel like
but
it
Sony
is.
Sony doesn't allow that. That's the problem.
I kind of feel like they're hinting that it kind of is, like, without officially
because they can't
stating it.
Because Sony won't allow that.
Yeah, I mean they're saying it's full functioning, but I feel like it's not. It feels early access, but it's still, again, the bones are there, and the bones are what is important. But did you ever play MAG on PS3?
No.
So, it was
First of all, I never
massive
owned a PS3
action game. It stood for, which is just a terrible name for a title, but it was like 64 versus 64 online. It was like an FPS, like Call of Duty style, but really a lot of fun. So that 100 player, like, drop them in a.
It's really cool.
Warzone
Like
thing sounds great.
I very rarely watch the same game across multiple channels on YouTube unless I like the person. But I've watched everybody I know play that game. I watched everything from Jack to Bob to Mark. I've watched Julie play it. I've watched Corky play it. Our buddy Tubin Monkey plays it. Like, I've watched various different people play it because that game is so good, and I'm so excited to see what happens to it. My concern, obviously, when it comes to console, is how they're going to translate some of the controls over, which isn't. It's not that hard. It's a first or third. It's a switch between first and third person shooting, so it's possible to do. It's just some of the other stuff of the inventory. How do you manage inventory quickly? Which, if they use the touchpad, you can do it fine. But right now, like, what you have to do is you have to open the inventory and you have to drag. If you want to drop something, you have to drag it to the left-hand side and it drops. That's not as conducive on a controller as it is on a mouse where you're going like this.
True that.
So figure that stuff out, and I'm sure that they're thinking about that. But
Yeah.
that's one of those games where I feel like, again, I haven't played Friday the 13th, so I can't comment on it, but I feel like that's one of those games where, since it's early access, I also give it a lot more leeway than with Friday the 13th being janky. And I think part of it is, again, Sony being Sony and saying they're not allowed early access games on their platform, which I kind of like, but I kind of don't. Like, Ark technically is early access.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you can call it a complete version, but it's not really a complete version. But
That's why it's more expensive.
I think like with the flip side of that, with something like Little Nightmares, they earned their stripes. Like
Yes.
they had their set amount of money. They put their work into the game. It looks beautiful. It plays beautiful. They released it at a really great price, and everyone that's played it so far that I know of has enjoyed it. So I think that's like I give Friday certain bits of leeway when it comes to the server problems, because, like you said, it's a lot harder to do an online game, especially when you're not expecting that kind of an influx for a smaller company. But then Little Nightmares did it very, very well, and the same as Inside and those guys and Limbo.
Danny O'Dwyer, who used to work at GameSpot, now does his own thing. I can't remember the name of it is. I think it's called No Clip. Does an interview with Rocket League, because Rocket League had the same thing happen at their launch, and this was probably 6 months ago when the interview went up, maybe less than that. And it's really interesting hearing from the opposite side of things, of like, so the Rocket League servers went down. People on Twitter like, Rocket League servers are down. They're like, they immediately would go out and say, we are aware. We don't know the issue yet. We're working on it. And even if by doing that, they built a lot of faith in their fans, saying, okay, somebody's working on it. And there was, I can't remember who, I think it might have been Jeremy Dunham. Can't remember who it was, but he came out and said, look, there'd be times at like 2 a.m. I would have to wake up and go figure out what's going on, because people are that demanding, as much as it sucks, but I'm building the faith in the community, and our game has prospered because of that. And the community now, he's like, it's weird because the community, when something happens, they're more patient with us because we've given them the heads up of like, hey, we know, we're aware, we're working on it.
Communication.
It's up to them getting it fixed.
Yeah.
Now.
So
So
that's why I do give extra props to the Friday developers for that. The fact that they were very transparent. They were on Twitter. They were.
I think
posting updates of the game.
everybody's learned from No Man's Sky what not to do.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Do not be
even
silent.
if Friday the 13th they came out and said, yeah, this bug we're seeing with the servers is something we can't fix.
Yeah.
I think that's better than saying, oh, by the way, we're not going to say anything.
Yeah.
So,
But I think to an extent, No Man's Sky was a different animal to those because of the fact it was pushed as a AAA title and not as an indie game. And I think that if it was pushed as an indie game, they'd probably have been given more leeway to get it figured out. But
but the $60 price tag on that is what hurt it too.
I would agree.
So.
I think 30, 35 would have been more appropriate.
That's what they are now. That's what you can buy for now, I believe. It actually was just on sale, I think, for 20 something.
Yeah.
With a couple of new updates. So
there you go. So what do you think is the sort of leeway length that you will give an indie developer for pricing based upon what they're creating for you? Like, do you think that if they have online elements, they're allowed a little bit more of a kind of okay, you guys are new to this, do your thing, or do you think that they should be expected to perform the same as a high-level AAA title? Let us know in the comments below.
Cool. This is the Level 2 Podcast. We are here every week, Tuesday evenings, if you want to listen to us. Wednesday mornings, if you want to watch us. Hi, guys. Thank you, guys, if you are listening to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever. Don't forget to leave a like, or not a like, a rating. That's what you do on there. Likes on Facebook.
Stars.
You can share us, too, with your friends.
Word of mouth is the best thing you can do for us right now, because we don't do like pushy ad campaigns. We don't really like posting our shit anywhere because we always feel guilty about it. Shout out to r/PSVR. But it's one of those things where honestly, right now we're comfortably just over 900 subscribers. We'd love to reach 1,000.
Slowly climbing.
Yeah, if you dig the stuff at all, just like share it one place and say these guys are kind of cool, or this is interesting, or whatever. Anything you can do as far as helping us out by spreading it by word of mouth is it's free to begin with, and it will add to the success of the show and the content, and and help us be better. And we really don't just want to be like everyone else. We want to create something special, and it's taken us a long, long time to come to terms with what that may or may not be. But we're heading in the right direction.
We don't do this for views. I mean, views are nice, but we have always been firmly believing that we will make content that we want, and not necessarily something that will make us get big. If we wanted to get big, we'd play a lot of Minecraft.
I want people to come back more than I want them to watch one thing and subscribe.
Yes. So we are the Level 2 Gamers. This is the Level 2 Podcast. You can follow us on social media on Twitter at Level 2 Gamers STL, Facebook Level 2 Gamers STL, Instagram Level 2 Gamers STL, and anywhere else with Level 2 Gamers STL. Patreon.com/Level 2 Gamers STL if you want to support us a little bit further. No obligation to, but it does help us out a lot if you do that. That's actually how we got a new capture card for streaming and 60 frames per second.
Oh yeah,
so that's fun.
Stuff coming out.
Yeah, we're excited. We also have some other things in the works because of that. So can't talk about it yet, but haha. But thank you guys so much for watching.
As always,
welcome to the second level. Bye.
It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.